Brian the Geek here, and I'm going to break down the Rings of Power trailer shot by shot, give my thoughts. Let's go ahead and get right into this. So we open up on a close-up of Galadriel. It looks like this is a battlefield. Tons and tons of helmets of dead elves here. We don't see any bodies, so this must be ways after the battle. Really beautiful shot. You can start to see where some of the money went on this show. Then we've got what I'm presuming is Rivendell. We saw this shot in some of the other teasers, but it does look really pretty. Then we have a shot of Elrond here. I'm starting to warm up to the idea of this Elrond, even though I don't necessarily love like the short hair look. I've heard that this actor is actually a huge Tolkien fan, which, if that's the case, he's probably going to do a really good job on Elrond here. Then we see what looks like Galadriel being crowned in some kind of ceremony here. I don't really know a whole lot about what this is, or if this even fits into the lore or is something new, because obviously Galadriel in the books was not a warrior like she is in the show. Then here we can see a dwarf. We've got Elrond here. We've got some other elves. So it looks like there's some kind of alliance between elves and dwarves at this point, at least in the show. Looks like we've got a little elf ear here, so I'm presuming these are child elves playing with some kind of toy boat here. Then we've got real ships, real flags. We've got elves here sailing. Then we got Mr. Mutton Chop Man, who I'm presuming is a Harfoot, one of the halflings, since we've seen some of that in the other trailers. Still not sure how I feel about this insane hairstyle, but we're gonna go with it for now. Then we've got the meteor that, not sure how that really connects into Tolkien lore, but maybe it does, maybe I'm just not aware of it. But yeah, we've got this shot of it sailing across the sky. Then we've got some kind of city here. Looks maybe like an elf city. And then we've got Galadriel. And I'm not sure who this is, but I believe she's another elf. And then we've got them looking at a Palantir. And Galadriel, from what we can tell here, puts her hand on it, is seeing stuff, and we see a huge battle. I don't know if this is actually in the Palantir, just kind of how they're cutting the trailer together, but you can see huge battle. Hopefully we'll get to actually see a lot of this on screen. One of the most amazing parts of seeing Lord of the Rings on screen was the amazing battle sequences. So hopefully we're going to get more than just like little flashes of these battle sequences. So TV versus movie, part of the problem with the Halo series was we got like 3 battles in the whole show. So I'm hoping that Rings of Power is not going to be kind of like really skimping on the action. We can see, got another shot of the battle. We can see what looks like an orc coming in to focus here. We can see an elf. I'm not sure if he's supposed to be a main character or not, but an elf fighting the orc with a lot of cool stuff going on in the background. This does look pretty good. These helmets look a little bit cheap, but probably in motion in battle they're not going to be awful. Just the Peter Jackson films did such an amazing job with the elf armor. This shot, again, I don't know what it's from. I had somebody in my comments, oops, here we go, let's get back to this. Say that this was, gosh dang it, say that this was from the Kinslaying, which was a huge battle between different factions of elves, but I'm not really sure. Geez, sorry, my mouse is like tweaking out on me, guys. And then, if I can get it to stop, we've got Galadriel here on a shot with a dead elf that I'm not sure who he is, but clearly this is somebody important to Galadriel. Probably somebody really important in the Elven Kingdom. And then we get a close-up shot of Galadriel crying. I'm really enjoying her acting more. I was kind of skeptical of it in some shots and in some of the earlier trailers, and I'm just kind of like, well, she looks gorgeous, yay! But I think she actually probably is a pretty good actress, and so we're probably going to get a pretty good performance from her. Based on the works of J.R.R. Tolkien, at least it doesn't say inspired by, that's, you know. Then we've got a white tree that I'm presuming could well be kind of the precursor, like, you know, to like the white tree in Minas Tirith that we see in Lord of the Rings. It could be kind of that same type of tree, the Tree of Kings, but regardless, a really beautiful shot. We see what I'm assuming is the elf lady. Then we've got these people that I'm not sure who they are. This guy's really interesting. I'm wondering if this is like a young Sauron or if this is some kind of like one of Sauron's minions. I don't really have a sense because we haven't seen anything of him in any of the previous trailers, anything like that. But I'm intrigued, I'm interested. And then we've got what I believe is Elrond walking through what I'm guessing is maybe a dwarf city, or else this is Rivendell at night. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it might be a dwarf city because we see a lot of dwarves. Yeah, this looks like dwarven architecture here. Dwarf king. And we've seen this other guy before. Not sure who exactly he is. Okay, then we've got super close up on Galadriel's eye. Galadriel in what looks like the aftermath of some insane battle, or else this is something from a vision or something. But this looks absolutely bonkers. Totally looks like something out of Stranger Things. Then we've got kind of this castle type place that I'm presuming might be Sauron's stronghold, or I don't think Morgoth is still around in the Second Age, but probably Sauron's stronghold. And we've got some ice forming. Then we've got this shot of like these two humans that, again, we haven't seen anything of this before, so I don't have any context or who they are. But he's like, Sauron, have you heard of Sauron? And this kid looks pretty freaked out. Really no idea what that is, but interesting. Then we see what I think looks like Sauron in his armor, kind of creeping up here, rising. We see a close-up on the hand. We see more of this kid. Then we see this shot that presuming is probably Sauron and his sword, because it looks very much like kind of that design from Mordor, but never seen anything kind of like this in Lord of the Rings where the sword is just being like materialized. We have seen Morgul blades dematerialize, so this could be like the forging of a Morgul blade, something like that. That would be pretty interesting. It actually may be well a Morgul blade, just looking at kind of the design and stuff. Got kind of a wide shot, not sure what's happening, but it looks like they're somewhere kind of dark and sinister. Maybe, well, there's an elf here, so I presume these are probably elves. Then we see something cast this crazy boulder and like take out some dudes. We see an elven ship kind of exploding on fire. We see the kid again hugging what I'm presuming is his mother, so I'm presuming that this is going to be probably a main character. Not really sure anything about him, but probably somebody that we follow in the human realm. Then we've got what I'm presuming is the hand, Sauron's hand. We've got orcs. We can really get a kind of an interesting design here. We can see a lot of the orcs are in fact wearing crazy skull helmets, which is pretty interesting. Not something we saw in the Third Age, you know, in Lord of the Rings, but I'm not hating it. It looks pretty sweet. Then we've got what I'm presuming is kind of the realm of men, maybe Numenor. Again, I'm a little still fuzzy on exactly the timeline of all this history, but definitely a precursor to Gondor. Then we see this elf guy that we've seen quite a bit, and a lady who I'm presuming is an elf. Then we see somebody holding up a sword. This looks like the realm of men. And we've got all these elves like drawing swords. Then we've got Galadriel in her armor. This might be kind of earlier on when she's a warrior. Then kind of a sweet shot of our elf dude dropping down. We've got some crazy explosions. We see either human or elf. Again, I'm not 100% sure who she is, with a baby. Then we've got the dwarves. We can see all the dude dwarves. We can see a few women dwarves. I know it's kind of been a point of contention in some of the more nitpicky fandoms that like the dwarf women don't have beards. I'm not up enough on my Tolkien lore to know if in fact dwarf women do have beards or not in the lore, but honestly, it doesn't really matter. It's not gonna make or break a show for me if dwarf women have beards or not. It's kind of actually cool that we're gonna get to see dwarf women regardless, because I don't think we saw a single dwarf woman in either The Hobbit or The Lord of the Rings. And we see, looks like some kind of jewel. I don't think it's like the Arkenstone or anything, but some kind of dwarf jewel of importance. We see the elf. I'm not sure if we're gonna have some kind of like human elf romance going on or something. That we saw some of these shots in the teaser trailer and I was not overly impressed. I felt like they looked cheap. This shot looks okay. Again, I don't know what the scale is supposed to be, but it definitely feels like a smaller battle than we saw in Lord of the Rings. This shot looks pretty cool with Galadriel. Again, we're kind of putting aside that Galadriel never in the books or anything fought in these kinds of battles. I'm just kind of accepting it for what it is at this point. We see orcs moving through the woods in a shot that kind of reminds me of like the beginning of Gladiator, when they're kind of moving through the woods to fight the Germans. We got crazy storm shot with Galadriel swimming. Looks pretty cool, although I have no context for it. Got some drums. This looks like, again, whatever Kingdom of Men this is, some kind of victory parade. We've got one of our dwarf heroes here, presuming this is a completely different realm. Then we've got this, which really interesting, really hard to tell what's going on, but there is a crap ton of fire here. It almost looks like a golem type creature, but I don't think it is. But I'll be fascinated to kind of see what that is. Then we have our elf. He's chained up. Looks like he's going to be fighting somebody. Then we've got cutting into another shot of some kind of fighting action. We've got our elf again. Looks like from that same kind of chained up fighting shot. He's like, no. So we'll see what's going on there. Then we got this crazy looking orc. Oh my goodness. He's like, rah. I don't know what's going on there, but he doesn't look bad. Like in my previous trailer reaction, I was like, man, these orcs, I don't know how I feel about them, but I'm not against the orcs in this one. Then we've got again what looks like another kind of explosion. I'm so curious, like, how are there so many like freaking explosions? It's not like Lord of the Rings has artillery and stuff like that. So I'm not sure what's going on with all these explosions. But we see an explosion in what looks like a village of men. This could even be earlier, you know, when we saw that shot of everything on fire with Galadriel. This could even be that same town a little bit earlier, getting completely owned. Then we got this shot of Galadriel. We've got, flames and stuff all around her. And then we've got the guy who I think could well be Sauron, or one of Sauron's lieutenants. But I'm kind of thinking, especially with like this shot, this guy's Sauron. He's like a young Sauron before he needs all the crazy armor. Then we've got a shot that's a little indistinguishable what's going on. We're kind of tracking with a leaf into some underground lair. We've got fire. We've got our elf dude. He's kind of like freaking out. And then something, it's hard to tell what it is, if it's an orc or if it's some other monster, grabs him and pulls him in. And then we've got what to me is the real money shot of this trailer. Lights up, boom, Balrog, exactly like Peter Jackson's Balrog. You know, maybe a slightly different design, but essentially like the same head shape, same everything. So, you know, this got me hyped for Balrogs. I am 100% down to see more of these guys because they were amazing. Well, the one was amazing in Lord of the Rings. And so that is the shot-by-shot breakdown of this trailer. Hope that you guys enjoyed. Let me know what your thoughts are. Are you more excited after seeing this trailer? Are you still highly skeptical? Are you excited? Did you see things, recognize some things that I didn't catch? Let me know everything in the comments below, and I will catch you all in the next video.